Committee back to order. Can we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. This meeting is being live streamed by Chelmsford Telemedia and posted to the CPS website for interested community members to access and watch. In-person public participation will be taking place tonight in accordance with social distancing and safety protocols established by the Chelmsford School Committee Public Participation Guidelines. Anyone interested in speaking during the public input portion of the meeting would notify the superintendent's office by yesterday afternoon. Have been provided these guidelines and assigned a time to attend the meeting to speak. If anyone watching this meeting live has questions or comments to share, they're encouraged to email one of us during the meeting. We'll read their questions or comments during our second public input session at the end of the meeting. So, welcome to this meeting of the Chelmsford School Committee. Our first item on our agenda is approval of our minutes from our meeting on May 18th.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the regular school committee meeting dated May 18th, 2021.
Second.
All right, any corrections? Jeff?
The only thing is under good news, Andy Rieger's name is spelled R-E-G-A, not R-I, R-E.
All right, we'll make that change. Anybody have any other changes? Okay, all in favor of approval?
Aye.
Okay, 5-0. All right, any good news?
Yep, I have a few things for good news. So this Thursday, we have 64 students that will be inducted into the National English Honor Society. That's at June 3rd at 6 p.m. And that's going to be live streamed, so you can take a look at that if you'd like. We wanted to let everybody know that all the summer reading options and any required work for students, AKA high school students, for courses are now posted on the website, and they should be taking a look at that. Plus, there'll be some additional options that we will put together as a curriculum team, similar to what we did last summer for families to then have ability to look at some math, English, all the different content areas. And the really good news is that there's a lot of in-person events that have come back on the books in the last few weeks. So that includes our kindergarten screening. We get to see kindergartners for the first time coming to school, seeing how they're doing with all the different skills. There are modified field days that will be happening at the schools, author visits, remote fun days for students who are fully remote. They're coming to the schools to have like just a meet and greet, be outside, safe, and play at the schools. And CHS brought in therapy dogs again today, and tonight is the first senior event at Kimball. So half of the students that we talked about the last time are now coming out, and they're going to Kimball's tonight. They are dressed in their prom dresses and tuxes and all sorts of fun stuff. And obviously that's going to lead to the culminating activity this Saturday, which is graduation. We're looking forward to in person. That's it.
Great. Anybody else, Jeff?
Last week's Storyteller Joe performing outdoors for small groups. This is at CHIPS. Entertain the children with a variety of stories using puppets as props. The children were fully engaged, enjoying his humor and sharing in his excitement. The teachers gave rave reviews and hope Joe makes it back next year. And this was sponsored by the CHIPS PTO. And also, last week, first time in a long time, we're able to have live entertainment at the Performing Arts Center, where the Theater Guild put on 2 one-act plays, The King is Dead and The Last Person on Earth. As always, the students did a wonderful job. The tech people did a wonderful job. And it was just so nice to see live theater again. It was it was really great. And as always, the students were fantastic. So
Yes.
Anybody else have any good news they want to share? I'm going to ask the superintendent if he could share some good news about the vaccination clinic.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I was going to mention that later in the afternoon. I have to, again, I mean, everyone has been working really hard all year. Our school nurses and Peggy Gump have been doing a really good job managing all the different health stuff within the schools. But Peggy was actually in contact with a local pharmacy in Chelmsford who had reached out to see if we wanted to do any on-site vaccination. Now it's a little easier to get vaccine again. And we were able to partner with them to actually have an on-site vaccination clinic this coming Thursday at Chelmsford High School. So we've been pushing out the weekly communication, as well as I sent a couple of separate ones today. Anyone 12 and older in our community, we're really trying to target our middle and high school kids who maybe haven't had the opportunity yet. Some, feelings we're getting from parents is, well, maybe we'll just wait till the summer and get it from the pediatrician, but we're actually able to offer it right on site. You just go to the website, you click and schedule an appointment. They're going to do the first dose Thursday between 1 and 6 o'clock at Chelmsford High School. They're going to come back 3 weeks later on June 24th and do the second dose. It's in town, it's on site, it's free. If you do have insurance, obviously they'll bill your insurance. If you don't have insurance, you can still come get the shot for no cost. So a lot of work went into that. We're hoping to get a good turnout. And I think for us too, it'll be a good dry run that hopefully once as the summer progresses and we have the ability for students under 12 to be able to get vaccinated, now we'll have a relationship with the group and we might be able to set up additional clinics based on demand. But no, we're really happy to be able to kind of pull that up quickly. Hopefully, like I said, we'll get a pretty good response. And it's nice that they're actually physically coming on site to the school to do it with their own staff. And we'll let you know how that goes.
Okay. I just remembered one thing. Before the play that same day, Lyme held the annual relay. It was a smaller number of students. I think there was about 50 participants, but they were able to do quite a bit of fundraising for some wonderful local causes, including the food pantry. And they had fun. They had a good time. I could tell that. Great time.
Right, so I think that's all very good
Yeah.
news. Yeah, that's
Yeah, it's
excellent.
good news.
Great.
Yeah, we're happy about it.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, so we're now to our first public input part of our meeting. As mentioned previously, anyone who wanted to participate in tonight's public comment needed to email the superintendent to set up a time to speak tonight. We do have several groups that have asked to address the committee tonight. In order to be able to schedule the speakers at a predictable time, we are allowing some of the speakers to speak on issues not listed on the agenda at the beginning of the meeting, instead of having them wait until the end of the meeting at the second public input portion. For those speaking tonight, I would ask you to try to limit your comments to 3 to 5 minutes so everyone has an opportunity to speak. Also, please keep in mind that we will not be responding directly to your comments during this part of the meeting. So at this point, I'm going to ask the people here to speak on behalf of the Chelmsford Action Climate Team to come forward and address the committee.
Hi. My name's Tom Amiro, and I'm one of the founding members of Chelmsford Climate Action Team. And we're going to present a citizen's petition, Article 28, to town meeting in spring, asking the town to resolve, to pass a resolution acknowledging that global warming, climate change is happening. It's hard to talk of this thing. And it's, due, as scientists, overwhelmingly have concluded due to man-made greenhouse gases, and we need to reduce, the emissions. And the state itself has mandated that, recently passed the climate bill, next generation roadmap for Massachusetts climate policy that calls for reducing emissions and to achieve net zero by 2050. So, and there are a number of towns that have already passed resolutions, and in our resolution, we'll be asking for a committee to be formed. So I guess there's 3 things. Acknowledge that we need to do something about climate by reducing emissions, come up with a committee, and the committee's main job will be to formulate a plan. And the first thing with a plan is see where you are. So do an inventory, do a baseline, and determine what is producing emissions in our town. It's probably very much like other surrounding towns, neighboring towns. If you're interested, Natick has an incredible plan that covers every possible way to get to net zero by 2050. It's a very good one. I'd recommend that. On our website, I think in some of the materials, I wasn't planning to step through the presentation.
Oh, okay.
But I could. I didn't realize.
Just give a summary if you'd like.
Yeah. On our website, chelmsfordclimate.org, we have, of course, we have a page dedicated to the climate resolution. And we're asking, people, individuals, and organizations to support it before we go to town meeting. And we have, at this point, over 90 individuals, and we also have a number of organizations. We've tried, and that's why we're here tonight, we've tried to go to different committees in town. We've presented to the select board, and they've unanimously supported it. We've gone to the Tree Committee, the Conservation Commission, the Recycling Committee, and I am not the, this isn't my, what do you say? I'm not in charge of this campaign. Bernd Kosicki is the person who's done all the work, most of the work. But he's at his granddaughter's college graduation, I think. So we're filling in for him. I think the reason I think the school committee is one of the most important committees and bodies. The schools have two, major, will have two major impacts on achieving this very challenging goal. One is infrastructure. The school has grounds, buildings, transportation, buses. These are all areas that can be, hopefully, emissions can be reduced. The other thing is the school has a major role in developing the citizens for the future, and hopefully, if you embrace the idea of climate action and teach the next generation the 3 R's, reduction, reuse, recycling, teach them to be climate aware and to behave in ways that are compatible with achieving, reductions of emissions. And so, I think, Badri may have a few words to say about where the school plays such an important role.
Hello all. I'll add to points that Tom has made. Thank you for inviting us. I know that this particular article probably does not impact the school committee as such immediately, that you have to have a vote or any aspect of that. But as a parent, as a resident, a longtime resident, and someone who's been involved in sort of sustainability initiatives now for many, many years, I joined the effort here to help get this through town meeting in some sense as a town meeting rep, as a resident, as a parent. I think one of the most important things that world over that we look at is very critically when we say climate change solutions or other things, and I'm not going to go and debate the climate change issue itself here. Hopefully science wins in that department and people understand that. But the most important thing is that schools have solutions embedded in education frameworks and policies and execution really, as Tom pointed out to the point here, is gets our children, the future citizens, really ready for the challenges that are coming up with this transformation, the adaptation, the mitigation that's required. You got to form the foundation now, and they get to see that in action. The kids get to see that in action through the local policies that is enacted, followed through in the schools, in the framework of decision, in the towns they live, and just like kids learn their values from parents, from school, very similar to that. It's a very important solution piece and anchor piece. So irrespective of what happens, I would encourage, I know this is not a vote there, but maybe there is a understanding, or maybe somebody may ask at town meeting that, what's the opinion of school committee, or whatever the follow-on study groups will come in, will form through. I'd like to encourage school committee to form some form of study around this issue and see how to best actionalize this. Now I know that there is the curriculum and everything else is decided at the state level and aspects of it, but there's a lot of research that shows and polling data, even in the US, that more than 75% of teachers really want to have climate education or change education in schools, but feel, and many of them feel that it's not part of their actual task or within their ambit, and therefore they need to be empowered and they need the tools, the materials to get developed and stuff. So really what we want to emphasize here is, please consider this as a next generational goal that Dr. Lang, you and others in this committee usually put out every 3 years. This is an important piece. Research is coming up that globally we need to educate all schools should have climate change education and action as part of it. Only 3 countries today, Italy, New Zealand, and Mexico, have nationally mandated climate change education. We're not going to change from here the national education framework here, but what has also been shown that the scale of impact that climate change can be addressed is within 5,000 to 100,000 people, and Chelmsford really falls within that range, both from a school system point of view. And as you know, kids come home, and when they tell you something different, and they do something different, they really can impact parents and their lifestyles, and it's an intergenerational opportunity, and we are getting them ready. So really, with these comments, what we are trying to emphasize to the school committee in Chelmsford is that this is an interesting emerging area, a challenging area, which should be on your radar screen to consider as an important thing that may not come down to you through an edict sometimes or an impact, but will come to you through operational budgets, through just state mandates or actions, and just being prepared for it is our ask as a parent, as concerned resident. As you can see, Tom and Bern are, I don't know if you're qualified as senior citizens, you both look very young, but they are really, really leading the charge here. It's not even the kids or the middle-aged people like me that are they're really taking care of it and saying they want to gift our grandchildren, their children after that, the future of Chelmsford. So with that, thank you for the time and effort. If there are any
Thank you both
questions,
very much
comments,
for the information.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All
right, sure we're the same age. I don't know if it's middle age, but.
Thank you.
All right, I'd now like to invite up members of the Association of Chelmsford Theater to come forward and speak to the committee.
Oh, that's ours?
They should give their names and stuff. huh?
They can pass those around.
So if you could just give your names and addresses.
Dennis and
Sure.
Maria.
So my name is Deborah Bowles. I live at 34 Old Stage Road in Chelmsford.
My name is Cheyenne Sobian. I live at 21 Judith Road in Chelmsford.
So thank you for having us here tonight to speak during the public portion. It's really about introducing ourselves to you. We are a parent and alumni organization that supports theater arts in the Chelmsford public school system. And we incorporated it in 2019, so just a short period ago. But we are a not-for-profit, and we're going to talk a little bit about what we do and how we provide support for the Chelmsford public school systems. So I'm going to turn it over to Shai first. We introduced both of ourselves already, so we'll just advance to the second slide. And Shai's going to talk a little bit about his education inside the theater program at Chelmsford High School.
Yes, thank you. My friends call me Shy, so you can all call me Shy. I'm a self-proclaimed theater kid, currently acting on a network television show, and I'm proud to be an alumnus of CHS's incredible theater program. The CHS Theater Guild mounts several productions throughout the school year, including a student-driven children's play, a festival of one-acts, fundraisers like CHS Next Top Teacher, a 40-minute production entered into the Massachusetts Educational Theater Guild Annual Festival, and a large-scale musical featuring the talents of over 100 students. Over the past 2 decades, CHS students have been recognized at the annual festival with over 350 All-Star Company awards, advancing to the state finals 9 times. For the musical, over 250 nominations and over 50 wins across all categories, including acting, stagecraft, and our legendary student orchestra. There's little doubt that over the past 20 years, the CHS Theater Guild has grown into a consistent creator of excellent work and is an example to other high schools across the state. The strong foundation in theatrical education has led to over 30 alumni, including myself, pursuing a career in theater-related fields, many of whom are still working consistently in film, television, and professional theater.
So if you'll go to the next couple of slides, it'll just give you one more slide. He stated all this for you, but we gave you a breakdown of numbers. And if you go to the next slide, this just tells you where the students have gone to study competitive theater arts, which includes NYU, Tisch, University of Hartford, Emerson College, Boston Conservatory at Berkeley, and BU, just to name a few. And that's just to name a few. Many alumni are currently working as actors, directors, talent agents, lots of resources for the CHS kids as they come out. They have utilized these sources. I know Shai has personally helped several kids with their audition tapes for colleges as they're trying to get into musical theater and things like that. So it's a huge resource to these kids. Next slide, please. So what you guys might not realize is that theater for these kids is a year-round sport, okay? So a lot of them will play sports also, but this is year-round. So they start in September and they go all the way through May and even into June. So, and there's over 200 participants. It's one of the largest activities at CHS. And it has 2 coaches, okay, that do all of this, and they do it year-round, and it's huge. They produce 3 mainstay productions and 4 to 5 black box shows. Even in a pandemic year, they put on a full-length play, a full-length movie, which is premiering. I think you all got invites today to the red carpet event that's coming up for the premiere of the movie, as well as the 2 one-act plays, which you spoke highly of, and as well as a cabaret night. And they also took it to an in-school news program, comedy sketch style for like a Saturday Night Live type feel. So, which was huge because it gave these kids all creative outlets, even in a pandemic time. Next slide, please. So who are we? So we're the Association of Chelmsford Theater. We started out, if you had kids in the program, as CTAP, if anybody heard that word before. It was Chelmsford Theater Association Parents or that type of thing, but we incorporated in, as I said, 2019, and we're a not-for-profit 501c3 organization. We support the development and enrichment of theater arts at Chelmsford High School. We've sponsored people like Shai to come in and speak to the students and helped support with stipends and things like that for that extra education. We also have elected board members and a general membership made up of parents and alumni volunteers. One of your board members has actually been to one of our general parent meetings several times, so she knows all about that. So, and then we have fundraising efforts. We support programs and expenses for not only the CHS Theater Guild, but we also support the Parker Drama Club. We brought them in last year into our fold, and we provide funding for them as well. And we also provide senior gifts. So we've, in the past 2 years, provided senior gifts to the seniors graduating in the form of monetary for their school supplies. And then next year, we're proud to say we're going to be able to offer our first scholarship. So we have a fully funded scholarship fund to the tune of $7,000 right now in our bank, which now is funded enough for us to go ahead and give out scholarships next year. So this was part of the efforts we've done over the past 2 years to try and support theater arts in the Chelmsford Public School System. It's huge volunteer operation. When I tell you that we do the MET Festival of One Acts, we can't even tell you the amount of parent volunteers that go into that. Yet somehow we bring them all out of the woodwork. Theater is like family, and even the parents feel that. So you'll find that with arts education, you have team collaboration, confidence building. Kids will come back and talk about how I may not have majored in theater arts when I have been in college, but man, I could stand up in front of my debate class and I could debate anybody because I have the confidence from what I gained in the Theater Guild to stand up there and be on a stage, which is huge. CHS Theater Program has grown immensely under Lauren Cochran's tutelage. We are here to support her a lot. And then the program flows right down into the middle schools. A lot of the high school students go out to the middle school programs and bring their knowledge, teach the younger kids how to do tech, teach the younger kids what theater is all about, which is huge. The one thing we want you guys to realize is that we are here to support the theater arts, and as we face Mrs. Cochran's retirement, which is probably in about a year, that we're going to continue to be here to support the theater arts going forward, but we urge the school board to seek a trained theater person to take her place so that we can continue such a great program, award-winning program. So here's our contact information. I know you guys don't have question and answer period time, so you can reach us at chelmsfordtheater.org. Facebook, we have that, and we also have an email there. So please feel free to email us and ask us. In your packets, we've included some of the press releases and some of the other materials for you so that you can peruse that at your own leisure.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so thank you to all of you that came out tonight. Speak of public participation, you're welcome to stay, but we're going to go on with the rest of our meeting at this point. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. It was good seeing you guys. I know we don't all know each other, but it was good seeing all of you.
Seeing anybody. Right? Okay, so now we'll move on to new business.
Great. Yeah, we'll jump right into the agenda. We didn't have anyone else registered to speak.
Right.
It was just those two groups. And first order up this evening is actually our introduction of our new principal at South Row Elementary School. So I'd ask Teresa to come on up to the table. Just for the viewing audience, probably I want to say late winter, Molly McMahon, the principal of South Row Elementary School, let us know that she was going to be leaving at the end of the year to pursue a great opportunity at Boston College. So she'll be working there in the fall. And Molly has been with us for about 10 years as the principal of South Row, so this is a big change for them. And we started the process of looking for a new principal. So we put out, we had some informational sessions for staff and for families to try to find the qualities and skills that they'd like to see in the next leader at South Row. We had a very good response. We were happy for that. We had a number of parents and staff that also wanted to sit in on the interviews and help us with the screening process. That work took place during March and April. And then from that, we had a couple of finalists emerge, and we actually invited them out to the school to do a walk around, to meet some of the staff and the students. And Teresa really emerged as our top candidate. So we were thrilled that we were able to offer Teresa the position and that she was able to come on board. And Teresa will be the new principal of South Row as of July 1st. Teresa comes to us most recently from Salisbury Elementary School for about the past 10 years or so. I'll let her talk a little bit about her work, but she's got a really nice background in reading and as a mathematics tutor, and then teacher, obviously, and most recently the assistant principal at their elementary school. So we're thrilled to have you on board, and just wanted to, unfortunately with the masks, we usually say it's nice to put a name with a face, but so you get a little smile. But yeah, you'll be transitioning, and we're thrilled to have you. So we didn't know if you'd like to say a couple of words and
Great.
Just introduce you to the community.
Well, you can probably hear me fine, right? It's awfully nice to meet all of you, and hopefully over time I'll get to know you better. You can call me Terry. I think I'm going to have to break that right away. I answer to Teresa also, but most people call me Terry. I am thrilled about the opportunity. Right from the beginning, the feel of all the folks associated with South Row, the staff, the parents, Molly, you two have been incredible. So I just come into this feeling nervous, but really excited about getting started. This summer, I really hope to sort of just learn some of the systems to make sure that I'm all ready to go in the fall. But my main goal initially will really just to be to get to know the community, to get to know the students, to get to know them well, and also the families and obviously the staff. But I really appreciate you giving me this opportunity. And, I'm always available if people have questions, and I hope that goes both ways because I'm going to have a lot of questions myself, so.
Great. No, thank you very much, Terry.
Welcome aboard. Any
Thank you.
questions or any? Just want to warn you about the school committee liaison to South Row. She could be a little bit,
You're the tough one?
Yeah, she's a tough one, yeah.
She's a little hands-on.
So are you all from different parts of Chelmsford? Like,
So it's an open town-wide school committee, so they don't
Okay.
represent the neighborhoods. The whole school committee lives in Chelmsford. Each of the school committee members is a representative on different, say, PTOs and boards.
Okay.
And Donna is the rep for the school committee at South Row.
But my children went to South Row.
Yeah.
I live in the South Row community. It is one of the best elements.
it's the one, right, yeah.
I would like to see you and
kinda like
Donna, did you
Barrington,
say?
that's okay.
Donna, okay.
And we can have like an event where you and Mr. Fredette fight it out, but I think both schools are great. I'm gonna
I think
go.
they're all great.
All four of our elementary schools are.
All great.
To their fondness.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
That's where my experience has been.
Yeah, no, I think
Everyone
you're
has
gonna
a
love it.
soft
I think we're all around during the summer too. It'll be a nice transition. We're happy to kind of get you into the school. I know you were able to attend a couple of events prior to,
Right.
and I think it's just a nice time. And
I'll
it's-
be there all day on Monday, so.
Oh, good.
Yeah, gonna meet with the staff, and I think they have some sort of an event that day, like a fitness day or something, so get to see the students in action and so forth. So I think that'll be a really good transition day to get down there before the students are gone for the summer, so.
Welcome aboard.
Well,
Thank
nice to
you.
meet you.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
I'm really
Thank you for
excited.
coming. Next up, we have a spotlight on the departments, and tonight is going to be Bill Silver and Technology. So I would invite Bill to come on up and get set up. The disconnect for you here.
Watch, the technology's gonna be perfect on this.
Yeah, video's gonna play.
Everything's gonna work
Everything will
fine.
work.
He probably didn't put any videos in.
Right.
He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Who's in charge of sound?
That's a whole separate department.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking.
All right, Bill, I got a question for you. How do I disconnect so that you
Oh,
can,
gosh.
okay, there you go.
There you go.
I'll just take over.
You did.
Thanks, Hal.
Okay. All right. Good evening, everyone. It's good to see you all in person. I've seen you a couple of times remotely, but it's nice to be here. There will be no question and answer period after this. Well, all right, there will be. I just want to take you through some of the highlights of the year. Some of these pieces you may have heard bits and pieces about as you traveled through buildings and interacted with staff. And just sort of just call your attention to some of the projects we finished and some of the upcoming things that we can expect over the summer and early fall. And kind of before I jump into some of those, I just did want to take a second really to just praise my staff. And, you know, it encompasses a fair number of people out in the buildings, my librarians, integration specialists. I have Dr. Sweeney in charge of curriculum for business and technology, all my technicians. Everyone really was just amazing this year. And they came back really driven to provide our families, our students, like the best possible experience they could have this year. So I just want to be very clear when I say I'm very lucky to have them, and that they know that I'm grateful to lead a group of that caliber. So thank you to that group. All right. As for some updates, this was a great year for getting some things done with some extra funding, which was fantastic. We were able to finish off every single classroom from K to 12 with a clear touch panel this year. They were really instrumental in the remote learning process and very well received by teachers. So that was such a big project, and I'm glad we were able to complete that. We upgraded our bandwidth last summer, sort of in preparation for some of this. We went from 2 gigabits a second to 12. And we have 2 diverse carriers, which was really good. I don't know if you guys know, maybe about a little over a week ago, there was a telephone pole fire that took out some fiber. We were so fortunate that we had a diverse path. We actually didn't lose internet that day. We were able to continue on. And that's why, you know, we do some of those types of different things and have multiple providers. One nice piece to this was the ice rink was actually never connected via fiber, but the company that was building out agreed to join the ice rink with our addition of this fiber. So now our television production department can do broadcasts from there and things like that. So that's great. We did do a little bit of Category 2 E-rate cabling, and it was primarily in preparation to do some security work this summer. But we also added outdoor wireless to every school. So if you drive through now, you'll see these little sort of circular bubbles on the outside. You know, most schools got a minimum of 4, some got significantly more depending on how big the school was. But that was nice because then kids could take their devices outside, teachers could have class outside, and everyone could stay connected. Security upgraded at the high school. That was fully finished, and you all know that there was a new visitor entrance added, which didn't see many visitors this year, but next year it will. We're going to pilot a visitor management system there, where folks can come up, they could either meet with someone who's attending the door, or there's a self-service mode to it. They can scan their license, it'll check the person against several national databases and then provide them with credentials to come into the building that then expire. The ink will run out and the badge will no longer be valid. So we're going to test that out, and we're also really going to make a big push this year to begin to badge students. So this is very likely to begin at the high school level. We're going to invest in a new badge printer. The one we have now prints one about every 3 hours. So we're going to upgrade that and see what we can do as far as badging kids. The real goal here is to not have a schedule of when doors lock and unlock. What I'd like to see happen is our doors remain locked at all times, and only people who have credentials to get into the building can enter. So that will be the ultimate goal. We'll try at the high school, and then we'll sort of work it down from there. We did a lot with Chromebooks this year. Every teacher got a brand new Chromebook, which was fantastic. Every paraprofessional received an updated Chromebook as well. So we had started to buy teacher Chromebooks when we began the one-to-one. They were obviously a slightly elevated device from the student devices, so those all transitioned to the paraprofessionals. They were very happy with those, and I think it made a big difference this year. And then we also were able to purchase 3,000 new units, and we used a fair number of those, but many of those are now earmarked for our one-to-one this summer. This will be the 3rd year of 5th and 9th grade distribution. And also many of those are going to now transition to the elementary schools, where the plan will be to take every single cart that we own, migrate them to those buildings, and try to have a cart for every single homeroom for the elementary buildings. So it should be a busy summer, but well worth it. Next couple of slides are some updates from Dr. Sweeney. Just going through our integration practices, some professional development, and then the tech and business department that she oversees. So this year's professional development, we had a ton of it. Obviously, we had those first 10 days, which were great to get everyone sort of jumped up and kicked off as best we could. But our technology integration specialists did daily professional development with teachers. There was so much skill building and learning this year. What we accomplished this year probably would have taken the next 3 years plus to be able to achieve. So it was an amazing job by the integration folks, and also an amazing job by the teachers to come to the table ready to learn that and then use what they had learned with their classes. Chelmsford, and I'm not sure if you're all aware, but we were one of the maybe handful to 10 districts that actually saw our kids every single day, whether it was in person or remote. Right? There were a number of places across the country that sometimes didn't see kids for 3, 4, 5 days at a time, and they worked asynchronously and then came back and tried to catch up. We were actually recognized by DESE for the job that we were doing here, along with about 4 or 5 other districts when they had put some video together, and just really talked about what an amazing job our staff was doing, connecting with kids every single day. As far as business department goes at the high school, Dr. Sweeney has said that we have a great deal of interest in many of the courses, and everything in the business department is now dual enrollment, which is great. And the Lions Locker School Store launched their online store this year, and you can go there and order your Chelmsford swag and support that program. It's a great program and gives kids real good hands-on, real-life experiences. CHS TV, their courses and clubs are obviously designed for opportunity. They did some really neat things this year with Lions Live, getting the community to come and bring information to them so that they could present that out to the students. And then they also did the Student Council Leadership Conference, and that was big because they didn't know how they were going to actually meet, but they pulled that off and did a really nice job with that, as is typical with our TV folks. One more slide from Dr. Sweeney. Project Lead the Way. Marilyn's worked really hard on Project Lead the Way over the years. She's done a really good job with this, and it's excellent curriculum. She received, or the district received, this District of Distinction Award, and what that means is we have 100% of our kids K-12 that have an opportunity to engage in computer science courses of some type. Where we didn't have it was the elementary schools, and she was able to expand that offering down there, and now we do this with K-4 students. And it's a great time to get them started and prepare them for the upper levels of this, and obviously for life in general. Marilyn also received a grant from PLTW and showed, get somewhere probably a little upwards of $10,000, and that will help train and continue on our PLTW courses for the next academic year. She also applied for and received the DLCS Now grant, and that was for right around $10,000, and really the state is very invested in making sure that digital literacy, computer science offerings are up to snuff, and that they're engaging and really well done for students. So that's going to give us an opportunity to go back, look at that curriculum, have the team come together, and then also provide some PD for our folks and really enhance what we're doing there. And then finally, there's a second innovation pathway, and Marilyn's been involved with that group, who brought that to you probably a few months ago now. But this pathway also includes some courses in robotics, programming, computer science, and engineering. And we do a really good job in those programs at the high school. I mean, even students that have interned for us, that have gone off to college, come back, will tell you that they learned an awful lot and were really, really well prepared for what they were seeing in college. So kudos to that group, and great work there. Okay, some upcoming projects. This is year 3 of our security infrastructure upgrade. We'll be finishing the 4 elementary schools this year. They're going to get a plethora of new cameras and some more door access controls, and that will be fantastic for them. The other buildings that have gone through this process already now have sort of eyes around the building at all times, and they can track down pretty much anything they need to. And it'll be nice to have the elementary up to that level as well. A big purchase of document cameras. This was a bit of a tough year to get our hands on things. Like, document cameras were non-existent for most of the year. We were able to trial one from a company called IP Evo, and we just ordered one for every single teacher in the district so we can replace any of the old things that kind of worked with Chromebooks but sometimes didn't, and the teachers were really good about just rolling with it, but this will give them something that works without fail every single time. And then a couple of other nice pieces. Fine arts. We did a new lab for their digital photography about 2 years ago, but they had another big lab with some iMacs that were aging. So we just ordered an entire new lab for that. Television production, and that's also used by Fine Arts as well. They do some video production in there as well. So those 2 labs will both be completely redone. And then the teachers, although we're moving to the Chromebooks for most, the Fine Arts teachers do have some software that's very specific and can only run on sort of a full-fledged device. Typically a Mac is what they're used to. So we'll be replacing the actual Fine Arts teachers' machines this summer as well. And then finally, I didn't have another place for this, but we did receive a cybersecurity grant, and that was a nice program by the state. It has some training materials for teachers, and then it sort of tests us. It'll send us these fake phishing scams to see who falls for what, and then we can sort of remediate those situations. I got our first quarterly report card. We had really good participation rate. It was like 64% for the threat assessment that they sent, like 40% for the first online learning module, and we had 0% fall for the first 3 phishing scams, which was great. Our staff has gotten progressively better each year at identifying sort of things when they are sent their way, and they alert us right away, which is exactly what we want to have happen. So I think it's a good program, and it should help folks not only protect our network and our security, but also their personal and private data at home. So we were happy to receive that grant. All right, this group's always up for some good fun facts, so I brought you a few to sort of wrap up here.
It's a test.
This year, new Google Docs added to our environment, over 800,000. And to put that into perspective for you, that's over 4,000 for every single day of school that we had. That's a ton. New spreadsheets, we clearly do not like spreadsheets that much in Chelmsford, about 37,000. New forms, 30,000. Slides, almost 500,000 slide presentations. New drawings, 67,000. There were over 6,000 brand new Google Classrooms created this year. Teachers added over 400,000 items to Google Classrooms. Kids added about 900,000. There were over 5,000 daily active users on Meet. And the last one's from my group. We closed about 10,000 tickets, which wasn't too bad, I don't think, overall.
Pretty good work. Of that 900,000, I think like 7,000 were Ella, my daughter. So you know.
Okay. And then the last piece is just sort of a request to the committee to do some repurposing of current positions. So what we sort of have right now is I was just alerted about one retirement we're going to have in the department, and we also had one vacant position. So what I was hoping we could do is repurpose the already budgeted money for these 2 roles to enhance the things that we're doing here. It won't have an impact on the fiscal 22 budget. And what I'd like for you to be able to do is to give us permission to create an assistant data analyst role. And you're going to say that's weird because we don't even have a data analyst role right now, and you're right. But it's been also brought to my attention that a second retirement will be on the horizon, and ultimately that position will be called data analyst. And then I'd also like to create a position that deals with cybersecurity and network operations. So this security system that we put in, obviously fantastic, but it's huge and it continues to grow, and it really requires someone to look after it very frequently, and sort of with much more frequency than what myself and the network administrator can kind of do on a day-to-day basis. So that'll be really the main focus of their work, and then to also be the backup to the network manager, the network admin, and sort of help them with the daily operations of the infrastructure. At the bottom is just sort of a org chart of how this would make the department sort of look. You know, and you'll notice that like the service manager position, the cybersecurity, and the assistant data analyst position are sort of all these you know, central and middle type of roles, and who they sort of would shadow and work with. And that is all I have for you tonight.
All right, anybody have any questions?
I have
Yeah.
comments. Oh, go ahead, Marie. Go ahead.
Go ahead. It's okay.
Yeah, I do want to just say, so I think Bill knows I work in the industry in high tech, more on the vendor side. And I have to say, if you work in the world, some of the projects that we work on take months and months of planning on the customer side, months of planning before they even start doing like testing and dev and in making sure everything does all the things it's supposed to do, with whether it's like data protection or whatever. So to come into last school year with all of a sudden the project becomes out of nowhere, we have to now remote educate all of these kids. It is an astounding feat that it was as successful as it was. and to get recognition from DESI is pretty strong indicator. But yeah, no, that's really, really hard work that me and my teams in the corporate world spend months and months and months planning, never mind just executing on. And you guys did a really bang-up job.
Thank you.
And then the other thing I wanted to mention, and I appreciate your support for the fine arts. My wife actually has a visual design degree, and the software requirements and the hardware requirements for that type of work is actually pretty high-end at this point. So I appreciate your support for the fine arts program.
Yep. Great program, and they need it, so
They need it.
let's
Yeah.
get it done.
Maria? Yeah.
Okay. So, Bill, absolutely. I mean, it's amazing what the department was able to accomplish. And in a way, what you've done this year is kind of setting a precedent for what's coming in the coming years. So I think these roles are extremely important that you're adding on, in my opinion. What would you say is the biggest challenge you have in your department heading into this next year? One of the things, for example, that I've noticed is, yes, more and more teachers know how to use the technology. More and more students know how to use the technology and how to do it. When you mentioned, for example, that carts will be placed in each classroom at the elementary level, are these students going to be able to borrow those notebooks to bring home when it's necessary? Those type of things. What do you see as the challenges going into this coming year?
The biggest challenges I think that we face are always that we want to do more, so we accumulate more items to do more with, and then you sort of run out of bodies to properly support everything and the way that you should be able to support it.
Right.
And the group works very diligently at performing the support, and I think we do a really fair job at it. I think being able to lessen some of their burden would definitely be a big step in the right direction. And you're right, teachers did learn how to use so many things this year that maybe they didn't ever venture down that path before, but they also now need to be supported. And, let's face it, when you don't use something for a couple of months, you're going to come back, you maybe don't exactly remember every single
Right.
way that it works, right? And the fact of the kids knowing more, they want to try to do more things. They want to try to bypass some systems that you have in place for them. All the more reason why something like a cybersecurity person to start to, watch their mail accounts, be able to mitigate some things that happen there. I mean, we probably have at least 1 or 2 accounts compromised a week on the student side, where they become spam bots and they're sending out all kinds of stuff. That could impact us in a very negative way where our whole domain will be blocked from sending someplace. But usually we can mitigate it quick enough. And to have someone always constantly looking over that, making sure we're doing it, would be a huge asset. So, yeah, there are many things. I probably could list them for you all night. Those are a couple of the main pieces, sort of, why I brought some of this to your attention, and I appreciate you realizing that there are some needs.
Oh, yeah, I would think so. And I just wanted to, as a school committee member, which is our role here, looking at what's coming down the road into the coming year, do you, obviously, these 2 positions are positions that you feel are extremely important to your department in order to keep it at the level that it's performing at, and then some. Would this actually be sufficient for the coming year? Is there some other things that we should be thinking of, and maybe this can be into another presentation that you give us in the future, but other things that we need to be thinking of in the coming year? So, in the integration of curriculum and continuing to do that. Obviously, technology was required in order to deliver the curriculum in this past year.
Right.
It might not be as required in the coming year, but it probably will be expected to remain part of the delivery system.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like, good technology integration practice is not going to stop because kids come back to the building. Like, we were doing that before the pandemic. The only thing we're not going to see tons of next year are Google Meets, frankly. But every other skill that was learned and used this year is going to be used again next year. You have already set us up as a committee for some amount of success there by approving last year some integration enhancements. So we do have one additional integration specialist on staff now that helps us keep up with the professional development. In years to come, I kind of would like to get back into a normal year, sort of see where we're at, and see if we become too overwhelmed in any specific area. And I would certainly come back and present to you if we notice that happens. But I think that with these additions, and then obviously, you added for us a full-time computer technician by combining our 3 part-time roles that we could not fill. That was a big boon to the department this year as well. So I think that we're in a fairly stable state, and but if anything does start to slip, I would obviously go to the superintendent and then come and present to you all.
Thank you.
Other questions, Donna?
Okay. So Bill, I can't tell you how many positive things I heard about your department from families throughout this whole thing, the level of support that they felt that they had for a variety of different issues. But I think we would be remiss if we didn't say that the commitment of your department and the motivation to work as hard as they did only came with good leadership from you. So really thank you for everything that you did to kind of support this whole process, because it was enormous. And if it wasn't for you, I don't think that we would have been in the position that we're in now, in terms of having offered instruction 5 days a week, and well-positioned to start off a successful school year next September. So
Thank you. Thanks, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Just to echo Donna, great job, everybody. I guess my question is, it's terrific we got all this new equipment, all these interactive TVs, and what's the lifespan and what's the plan going forward? Because, it's one thing you add a couple every year and then you take them out. Now you get them all in 1 year. So what's kind of what do we expect those things will last for? How many years, and what do we do going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I always kind of think of a general rule in technology as like a 4 to 5 year lifespan is about it now, right? The days of keeping a computer for 10 years are kind of gone. But these were all sort of things that we did, tried to fund through capital committee and, good budgeting practices and things like that. I assume that we will start, when these do phase out, because we bought such a large amount at one time, we'll need to start thinking about how do we reintroduce these back into the capital budget? How do we, maybe leverage some of our local budget to be able to do these types of things? You've seen how we've accommodated the one-to-one by leasing and using the school choice fund. So I leave the business of the district to Dr. Lang to guide us, and he certainly does a good job at that. And but we'll be able to continue to fund things, and we'll go to the appropriate committees to make sure it happens.
Great, thank you.
I had one other thing. So, hey, Bill, just one more quick question. The cybersecurity expert, and I don't necessarily need to go into details, but I think I know you're aware that ransomware attacks on public infrastructure have been pretty significant. There's a pretty broad target for things like ransomware attacks with students involved and teachers. You do have some kind of ransomware mitigation, security policy around that. Is the cybersecurity guy going to look at those kind of things too?
Yeah, this will be one of the pieces that they definitely focus on. I mean, we've seen a lot of different things happen this year, not just in the ransomware arena, but also, some DDoS attacks and all of these types of things. So, we don't have everything set up to mitigate these right now, but this is something that we need to move towards because they're becoming more and more prevalent daily. We just went through the gas pipeline crisis. There was a story today that one of the biggest meat producers in the country was similarly hacked. We do try to protect ourselves by keeping, not just a local backup, but we get stuff out of here as well, so we can probably recover in a pretty timely fashion. But it certainly means downtime, and it certainly means a lot of man hours to get us back to where we would be. So, yes, that is one thing we definitely want to try to address and work towards sort of better mechanisms for that.
Any other questions?
Do you,
I think we have to take, oh, sorry, do you have a
I'm
question?
sorry, just, do you see, you've presented here 2 roles that would be new. Do you see current roles, current positions that you have in the department having to change somehow? For example, I'm thinking the incredible role the integration specialists have played this year. I'm thinking at the high school, because that's my personal experience and what I saw, that she was amazing, okay, on what she did to help not only teachers but also students, and every other school said the same thing to me. Is that role something that might change this coming year? Do you see others that will as well?
So I don't foresee the integration role necessarily changing. That's it's a teacher position, but a very specialized teaching position. So I think that they would continue to work in that same capacity, because what they do is crucial. That skill building, the co-teaching, helping teachers really do good work with integration. The other position, I guess I should clarify, like the assistant data analyst position really isn't new. It's called the assistant database manager now. But what we're looking to do with that is to shift a couple of other responsibilities from other places where maybe they don't belong onto that role, to free up the other folks to do some other important work. It isn't exactly new. It's just kind of a new title with a new set of directives, but still very crucial to the reporting elements that we have to deal with year in and year out, and data protection and things like that. And the cybersecurity one is a new role, but based off of sort of some areas where we have weaknesses now or short staff now, and it fulfills all of those needs.
Thanks for clarifying that.
Anything else? All right, so I believe we'd have to take a vote on these new job descriptions.
Yeah, if you would, and I just wanted to reiterate what Bill had said. So these, there were 2 positions right now. One is vacant, and one is soon to be vacant due to retirement. It's basically a retooling, so it's going to end up with the same FTEs. We're not adding FTEs to the department. We currently have 2. We're just going to do the job descriptions and the assignments. So the same number of staff is still going to be there. It's just different staff with a different focus. So I just wanted to put that out there. But yes, Bill did attach the job descriptions for these 2, and he's really doing a nice job kind of with the naming and the configuration of all the positions, so we're keeping with that, kind of naming structure. So yes, a motion to approve the ICTS Assistant Data Analyst position, and then the ITCS Cybersecurity and Network Operations Specialist position would be appreciated.
1 or 2 motions?
You can do it together. You can do it separate. It's totally up to you.
I make a motion to approve the ICTS Assistant Data Analyst position and the ICTS Cybersecurity and Network Operations Specialist positions as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further questions on these? Okay, all right, all in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, 5-0.
Great. And thank you, Bill, for tonight.
Bill.
Thank
We really
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you, Bill.
Good to see you.
Two.
Not a single thing was said about the website, which is another thing that Bill has been working on as well, and it just,
Yeah, cool.
Good job on the
It was good.
website too, Bill.
Cool, yeah. Bill, and then we'll have Chris in over the summer.
That's
To
great.
do an update on that too, but
I do like the new
we've been
website.
getting a lot of good feedback on it.
yes.
like it a lot.
Good feedback.
All right,
Great.
so MSBA vote.
Sure, so,
God.
take a deep breath. So we have the MSBA vote before us. We talked about this at the previous school committee meeting. We're going to apply for the high school project again to kind of keep our foot in the pipeline. And then I did reach out to Dora Whittier to see if they would like to come back and work with us this summer. So I'll be meeting with them at the end of this week. And I can probably let you give an update at the next school committee meeting on that. We did retool the application for the MSBA vote. The vote language is consistent with the past. It does need to be read into the record. And then ultimately, if the school committee approves this evening, Town Manager Cohen had reached out to see if I would like to put this on the agenda for the select board for next Monday, so we'll do that. They'll vote, and then I'll put the whole packet together to go in by June 25th.
Now, did you change any of the language, or are we still doing the same? plan?
Well, no, it's still the high school. I did update it because we're now a year later, so anything that had to be updated was updated. And I was a little bit more clear, I think, in the first couple of pages, talking a little bit about how this is really yes, it's the high school project, but it's part of a multi-tiered approach for Chelmsford, that if we were able to do a new high school, then we could consolidate our 2 middle schools into the former high school. We could potentially repurpose one of the middle schools as an elementary school. So I started to talk about that to just try to make the case a little bit more compelling. And then I do think once we can meet with Durham Whittier this summer and possibly work with our state legislature over the course of the summer and fall, if we can get back in person, and we can talk a little bit about our project and try to, again, keep advancing it. So I made minor tweaks, but the basis of it is still the high school project for the same purposes. So I did draft out the whole motion for you there
All right.
to read.
Is everybody ready?
We're ready.
Having convened in an open meeting on Tuesday, June 1st, 2021, prior to the closing date, the School Committee of Chelmsford, in accordance with its charters, bylaws, and ordinances, has voted to authorize the superintendent to submit to the Massachusetts School Building Authority the Statement of Interest form dated June 1st, 2021, for Chelmsford High School located at 200 Richardson Road, which describes and explains the following deficiencies and the priority categories for which an application may be submitted to the Massachusetts School Building Authority in the future, including the elimination of existing severe overcrowding, prevention of severe overcrowding expected to result from increased enrollments, replacement, renovation, or modernization of school facility systems, such as roofs, windows, boilers, heating and ventilation systems to increase energy conservation and decrease energy-related costs in the school facility, and replacement of or addition to obsolete buildings in order to provide a full range of programs consistent with the state and approved local requirements, and hereby further specifically acknowledges that by submitting this statement of interest form, the Massachusetts School Building Authority in no way guarantees the acceptance or approval of an application, the awarding of a grant, or any other funding commitment from the Massachusetts School Building Authority, or commits the city, town, regional school district to filing an application for funding with the Massachusetts School Building Authority.
Nice job, Jeff.
I was gonna ask you.
Nice job,
I was
Jeff.
gonna ask you to repeat it, but.
All right, any questions on it? All right, so all in favor of approval of the submission? Aye.
This one's a roll call vote.
Oh, roll call, sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Donna?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Maria?
Aye.
Aye, okay. 5-0.
Perfect. So we will get that on the select board agenda. I'll work with Paul on that, and then I'll report to you when it gets submitted. All right, I'll actually turn item 4 over to Assistant Superintendent Hirsch for recognition of June.
Sure. So June is Pride Month, and this is annually dedicated to make sure that we are being active and considering gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, intersex, queer, and asexual, plus means for any additional groups out there that may or may not come forward, to make sure that we're honoring equal justice, equal opportunity for all of these groups that come through our schools. Back in June 2019, if you remember, the Select Board had put together a proclamation, and the school committee adopted that by reading it at their meeting, and then again last spring, June 2020, they read that proclamation again and just identified with it. I thought moving forward, it'd be nice if we could mirror their proclamation and make it more school-specific, just by changing a little bit of the language. So I took the opportunity to go through the document and bring it forward to the committee to take a look at it, see if this is something you'd like to adopt and have your own signatures on, and that way you can work in collaboration with the select board. So that's what you have in front of you right now.
All right, do you want to read the proclamation before we vote on it, or? I'll read it out. Sure. All right, proclamation, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, intersex, queer, and asexual, Pride Month, June 2021. Whereas the Chelmsford Public Schools is a welcoming and learning community, whereas the Chelmsford Public Schools recognize the importance of equality and freedom, whereas the nation was founded upon and is guided by a set of principles that includes that every person has been created equal, that each has their rights to liberty, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and that each shall be accorded the full recognition and protection of law. Whereas the Chelmsford Public Schools lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, intersex, queer, and asexual community are a vital part of all fields and professions and contribute to a stronger community. Whereas the Chelmsford Public Schools is dedicated to fostering acceptance of all its members and preventing discrimination and bullying based on sexual orientation and gender identity. And whereas the Chelmsford Public Schools is strengthened by and thrives upon the rich diversity of ethnic, cultural, racial, gender, and sexual identities of its residents, all of which contribute to the vibrant character of our system. Whereas the Centers for Disease Control, CDC, recognize that LGBTQIA+ teens are at a higher risk to be victims of violence and of increased suicide rates. And whereas it's imperative that young people in the district, regardless of sexual orientation or gender identity, feel valued, safe, empowered, and supported by their peers, education, and school leaders. Now, therefore, we, the Chelmsford School Committee, and on behalf of the Chelmsford Public Schools, hereby proclaim and recognize June 2021 as Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender, Intersex, Queer, and Asexual Pride Month in the Chelmsford Public Schools, and urge all members to recognize the contributions made by the members of the LGBTIQA+ community and to actively promote the principles of equity and liberty. Signed this date, first day of June 2021. Okay, so I'll take a motion.
I make a motion to recommend the school committee vote and sign the proclamation at their regular meeting of June 1st, 2021 to proclaim and recognize June 2021 as Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender, Intersex, Queer, and Asexual Pride Month in the Chelmsford Public Schools.
Second.
Okay, any questions, any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We can print that out and have them sign.
Yeah, I was just thinking that, but maybe at the end of the meeting
Yep,
we can
I
do that.
have that printed
I
out
have
and
good paper
signed.
in the office, too.
And we did just put out today, too, some background information. Dr. Whittlesey put it together, background information about this and activities for teachers that are age appropriate for the different levels. So we're trying to make sure that we promote everything and provide people with the resources that they need in order to be able to have conversations around this as well.
Great. Thank you for putting that together.
Great, thank you. Yeah, at the end of the meeting, if we just stay for a few minutes, we'll print it and we can sign it. Next report this evening is an update for you on incoming kindergarten and first grade student enrollment for the fall. I had just a quick little cover memo, and then we updated some figures as of May 20th, just so that you would have a sense for how the registration has gone so far for the fall months. When we take a look at the numbers on the attached spreadsheet, page 2, as I mentioned in the cover memo, I really don't have any concerns at this point for the first grade, the grade 1 students, because we were carrying 5 sections of K this year, and when we did the budget process, because, bless you, we truly don't know exactly how many students may be coming back or not. We had some students that ended up going to private schools, others homeschooled, so we left 5 sections in K, kind of moving up to 1. So we're going to keep the 5 sections in 1 next year across the board. So our numbers are really fine. I don't have any concerns there. When we looked at the numbers in kindergarten so far, again, the 2 schools that kind of jumped out to me at this point of the time were Byam and Center. And I did meet with Principal Fredette and Full Reader from Center to take a look at those numbers, because those 2 communities typically between now and September will see increased enrollment over the course of the summer. So it is very difficult when the schools are trying to do their staffing and their planning and their student assignments for the fall to add extra classes late. And just given the trend over the last 5 years, I think the 3 of us really felt that they would be close to, if not exceeding, the 100 students as the summer went on. So made the decision to allow those 2 schools to have 5 sections of K now for planning purposes, so that they can go ahead and hire and have that the staff on board, and also when they're doing their class assignments, be able to take that into consideration. So they're moving forward on that front. Funding-wise, those 2 positions weren't included in the budget, so I'll be working through the details on that recommendation for you, likely after we finish the hiring and we actually see how much available money we may have for new positions, because we budget step 3. I'm hoping that we have a little bit extra money that we can reallocate within the budget. That is typical. I'm not recommending at this point doing anything with Harrington and South Row, just based on those numbers. South Row I know is at 80, but this past year was actually the first year that we had to have a 5th section of any grade level at South Row. Just typically, they just don't turn the numbers. They're pretty consistent with their 4 sections. Harrington is a school that we're going to watch because that one had 5 sections, and you can see they actually have 104 in first grade for next year. but I think it would be premature at this point with only 74 registrants to add a 5th section. So that one I'll continue to monitor, but I thought it was a safe bet at Byam and Center to go ahead and add the 5. We're still reaching out to families to let them know that they can come in even though the registration period is done. We'll get a lot of moves over the summertime. We're communicating that. I'll update you as we go, but I think overall we're in pretty good shape on that enrollment front. So I hope that makes sense, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Any questions?
Okay, so that Littleton Road project was Byam, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay.
students from that particular project would go to Byam if they registered.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
It's not so much a question about this, but maybe in one of our upcoming meetings, can we talk about like space allocation? Like, where are we at in terms of, do we have enough space, for everything in the elementary schools? I mean, I feel like we're kind of bursting at the seams.
We are. It's the, thank gosh, we actually added the extra modular classrooms a few
Right,
years back.
right.
But, Byam had usually 2 or 3 sections of 5, and that was kind of pushing it.
Right.
We're now seeing, Byam, I believe, next year, with the exception of 1 grade level, is going to have 5 sections. Carrington has basically gone to 5 with the exception of 1 grade level. Center the same. So no, I mean, that is where we're starting to see our increase. We are able to manage it right now. Of all the schools, I'm a little more concerned with Center because we could only add the 4 modular classrooms attached to the building, so they didn't get an extra 2. So we are having to repurpose some space within the buildings. And longer term, I really do think that's why, say, our MSBA plan is so important, because if we could open up another elementary school and, as much as I don't want to have to go through a redistricting, over a number of years, be able to do something like that, we very easily, it's much easier to run a 4-strand elementary school than a 5. Even if we pulled back that extra classroom at each of the grade levels from the schools, we'd have, plenty of enrollment to be able to support that. So yes, I think long-term, we need to be looking at the MSBA. Even in the short term, though, I mean, because that is still going to be an 8 to 10 year project, we're going to see this enrollment increase at the elementary level. I am concerned also with the UMass Lowell West campus, and what potentially could happen there, because that would be districted to Harrington.
Right then, yeah.
And we really just do not have the capacity to take on another development like that. So my hope would be with Durham Whittier this summer, if we go back and revisit our short-term and long-term capital plans to kind of put that on the radar. We have continued to work with NESDEC to do our enrollment projections on an annual basis. This year is going to be a little bit of a blip, though, because we did have a number of students unenroll. So it's not like your traditional year. We're really going to have to kind of wait till the fall and the October 1 numbers to see what's going to be a little bit more regular. But yeah, I mean, overall, I am in the next, 3 to 5 years concerned. I don't have concerns for the fall, so I don't want people to be nervous about this coming fall.
No.
But as we continue to see it, yeah, it is going to be an issue for us.
Right, but I do want to talk about what the impact is going to be for the fall. For example, like, are we giving up, specialist classrooms, for example? I think they were on carts at one point.
Well, yeah, I mean, barring, we don't know what's going to happen with DESI and regulations.
Okay.
Right, so the reason that we're actually even now having to have some specialists be on carts
Okay.
is because we had to maintain the 3-foot
Right,
distancing.
right.
Originally it was 6, it was cut to 3.
Right.
We have the issue with the lunches right now.
Right.
Because even the lunches have to be 6.
Right.
What we're hearing is for the fall, that those spacing requirements are going to be eliminated, and we'd be back to a more traditional setting. If this were a normal school year, we can take those 5 sections of classes at each of these schools. We would still have an art room, a music room, a phys ed space, so we wouldn't have to have specialists necessarily on a cart.
Okay.
But again, like a center isn't used to having this many 5 sections.
Right.
Certainly South Row is a small school. If South Row ever had to have 5 sections, that would also be troublesome for them.
Right.
But no, I mean, in a normal world, if we didn't have the spacing restrictions for the fall, I don't think we'd be talking about specialists on carts or things like that.
Okay.
But we'd be using every, available room and square foot of the building.
Okay.
Yeah. It seems in line with that question that we're looking at Byam and the Harrington area as the two part, yeah.
It's, Harrington's fluctuates a little bit more than the other schools. Our biggest concerns actually right now are, and it's not that it isn't Harrington, but it's Byam and Center. Center has really seen a big increase
yeah.
over the last number of years, because again, when I first came, they only had 4 sections.
That's
They're
right.
up to 5 now in several areas. And if we want to keep a relatively low class size, which is desirable, we either have to be able to house that 5th section or eventually start to look for additional space to be able to have its own building.
Okay. I think it would be a very important discussion for us to have
Yeah.
in some depth
Right.
over the coming few months.
Or what you're in. And
Yeah, hopefully they're going to continue
part of
working with
that
us and,
process.
and we'll look at that. Like I said, I don't have any huge concerns for the fall. I think we're going to be able to manage that. But a year or 2 down the line, we are going to need to have some short-term and then hopefully longer-term plans
It would
if we
be
got a bigger project funded.
interesting to know how many units in that 110 development are already rented. Every time I pass by, it looks like it's ready.
The Littleton Road one?
There are very few cars out there that I see, so I don't think that, it's fully tenanted yet. But you're looking at 84 units. So, what's that impact over the coming year? I don't
Right.
know.
Can I ask you, so the difference between kindergarten enrollment and first grade is like 50 students. Is that typical, or are we getting less kindergarten enrollment because of the new policy that rolled back the August, July? I mean, is,
No, I think a little of this is going to be the actual students that enroll over the course of the summer.
okay.
The students who are moving up to grade 1 are already our students, so they're in the schools. I think it's not unusual, and we could do like a multi-year look for you just at the K numbers to see at this point of the year how many have enrolled. But you are going to see a good number enroll over the course of the summer, which is why I'm just concerned particularly with Byam and Center. Like they're going to be either at or approaching that 100, and I don't want to see people having to be scrambling after the fact to add on to staff.
Okay.
I didn't, and I can look and see what our enrollment projection 2 years ago was for this year's kindergarten class, to just see how close it is. I didn't do that, but I can do that.
Okay, great.
Be good.
Other questions on enrollments? Did we ever get an answer to the question of whether they're gonna hold us accountable for enrollment this year, the state, when they do their,
No,
they didn't ever,
I don't have
did they
a
ever have a,
definitive yet.
a vote on whether they're gonna hold harmless or,
no.
okay.
Nope.
Be interesting.
It shall.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I'm hearing, Chapter 70 will be held harmless. I just don't know what is going to happen with the enrollment numbers, how they're going to factor that all in. It obviously more adversely affected the larger urban areas than it did the suburbs, but we still have to keep an eye on it because ultimately it could potentially affect us.
All right, any other questions on enrollments? Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Great.
And I'll report more as we go through the summer.
Next one was school committee workshop, so several members have mentioned they would like to do some sort of workshop over the summer. So I don't know if we have some sort of idea of what type of workshop you look for. I included the workshops offered by MASC. These are ones where they'll come out to your facility and put on the workshops. We had them out, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, I think, to do one. So I don't know what people are looking for, if any of those seem to be fit the bill, or if there's something different people are looking for, if there's some other organization you would like to get in touch with and see if they want to come in, or what people, I know Donnie's mentioned before, Maria's mentioned before, wanted to do some sort of workshop, so some sort of idea.
Yeah,
where-
I mean, I like a lot of these, although I think that we have touched upon them at various points, like Chapter 70, and things like that, so maybe, just for the process, just like I'm looking at effective meetings, reference materials you need, and teamwork. We're just improving our efficiency as a committee. I mean, it's been so weird between remote, in-person, half in-person and remote, just kind of get us all back on the same page again.
I like parliamentary procedure.
Yep, I like that too.
I do, yeah.
You really?
Yeah, I'd like to take a class on that. I've probably been terrible at this for 5 years and have no idea. I just learned what everybody else did.
Yeah, that's kind of what I mean,
Yeah.
Okay, so
About-
more
yeah.
on, like, meetings in general,
Yeah, about our meetings, I think. that-
Yeah, like
yeah.
how we conduct our meetings.
Yeah.
Effective meetings.
I definitely think we could do some more on superintendent evaluation. I'm just gonna stare at you while I say that. But it's always good, and I think any of these courses are good. I am interested in parliamentary, but superintendent evaluation is good, right? We can have a discussion about what other districts do. We can learn from that. All these are decent.
All right, so maybe I'll try to reach out, who's
Yeah.
that, Dorothy?
Dorothy Presser, I do wonder also, I know it's your workshop, but just a couple of things to think about. I do wonder if MASC is going to be putting together, because I know like MASS is looking at like emerging from the pandemic. You know, exactly, how are you going to kind of like refocus yourself, refocus your work?
That would
See
be
what
good.
really, has worked well over the course of this past year when it came to remote or hybrid learning. What elements do we want to see stay? What might we like to tweak? So there might be something along those lines. And, the other area that we had talked about, and I know Linda maybe can touch on, is as a district, we're going to be doing some work in PD around like diversity, inclusiveness.
Yes.
And the group we talked about today, do you mind chatting about it?
Yeah, so I had mentioned it before, there's a group out of EDCO called Ideas. They have been together for many years, putting together a lot of different PD options, and we had a conversation with the director there, Karen Thompson, today, and just talking about what does this look like for the district, but they would fold in the school committee as well. So we'd start with the school committee in the summer, as long as the admin group, and then kind of branch out into the teachers. And we had a good conversation today. The thought process would be at least starting off with two-hour sessions with this school committee this summer. And that's the discussion I'd like to have of like, when would people be available, right? Because we'd have to start giving dates. And she would start to come out and they work in a team. So there's two consultants that would come out and work with this school committee specifically on racism, inclusivity, and obviously diversity for the district. So I would like to get your thought process on, would you like to work through this company to help us get at least a foundation? And we'll all be speaking the same language, and we could do that over the summer. I just don't know what people's availability looks like for the summer.
Sure. That's, everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Anybody have any big vacation plans?
I have one, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Jeff and I are going to roll together.
I also like the one about coming out of this COVID and getting some ideas, and so that we can plan accordingly as well and be one step ahead in agenda preparation and so on in the coming out of COVID thing. I've seen some, out there.
Yeah, I don't know necessarily that MASC is doing that. I just know the Mass Superintendent Group is talking about it, and I'm just wondering, oftentimes they kind of piggyback on each other, so I was wondering if MASC was going to have something similar. I have spoken with Dorothy on several issues. I don't mind reaching out to her if you want.
Sure.
And just kind of seeing if they have anything special coming, and we can, try to put our own little package together for the summer if you'd like.
Well, the other thing too is maybe when you're talking to her, you can find out what they're planning for November. So, because, if they're doing it in November, some of these things that are on these workshops, then we can use that opportunity, so.
Sure. Okay, I'll reach out and we can circle back.
Sounds good.
All right.
Oh, Dennis, I'm sorry, one other thing. And while we're talking about this, it might be a good opportunity to take a look at the school committee handbook again.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
kind of
I figured
revisit that.
if we did something on the meetings, yeah. definitely.
Yeah, but just, we haven't looked at that in a while, so that might be worth taking a look at again.
Okay.
Would you touch base on summer programming?
Yep, sure. So as a group, we've been looking at what we'd be able to offer for summer programming as a district. Last week, was it last week? No, the week before that, I'd sent out a non-binding survey to teachers just to get an idea of how many people would be interested or available to teach, because you need teachers to run these programs. And we also, at the same time, were pulling our student data. We had just finished our final benchmark for iReady, plus looking at the additional data that we have in the district to try and identify just the first tier of students that we would invite to this based on being able to make sure that we had staffing for it. So right now, we are in the process of, we just finished a posting. We're going to be taking a look at it to see what's viable, what grade levels we'll be able to offer this for. This would be for ELA and mathematics at this point, and offer it's 2.5 hours for the students, 3 hours for the teacher, Monday through Thursday extended learning for ELA and mathematics. This is also running the same weeks as the extended year process for special ed students. And obviously, if we're going to be running this program, we invite them, and parents would be able to choose between the two programming. So right now, we're just, we're at the 11th hour trying to put the program together to see what we have, and trying to build it at the same time. But once we get that up and running, we would send out an invitation to the first tier of students. Based on that response, we would then obviously move to another tier of students based on student data to make sure that we would have some type of a full programming for students to run from July 12th through August 5th for 4 weeks, 2.5 hours a day, Monday through Thursday.
Optional. It's optional.
Optional, yeah, well, we hope that if they sign up, they'll show up.
No, what I meant was you don't
Oh, yes,
have
it's not
to go.
required.
Okay.
It's optional. That's why we would have to put out an invitation to families, and then based on that response, say if we go to another layer, we wouldn't probably be able to run it for all students, but we'd be able to run it for students that may be on that fence, so kind of like a jump start.
And would special education students be able to sign up for this without ESY in their IEP?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you know what the criteria are going to be for the students that are going to get accepted to?
It would be based on their student data, so how they performed on their testing to see who needs that kind of, like if there's students that are on the fence that need that boost up. So it wouldn't be all special ed students, it'd be students that, special ed students that fall within that criteria.
Oh, I just have one more, I'm sorry. Just how has it been going with the staffing? Have the teachers shown interest? Have they seemed receptive to it? Like,
Yeah, we just closed on it. We do have some interest in there, and that's what we're going through right now to see who actually applied and then what their expertise is, right? So you have K through 6 teachers who hold either a K through 2 or 1 through 6 license, so they can teach the math and the science. Except for when you get to 5th and 6th grade, they usually kind of break up as an ELA and a math science person. And then for 7th and 8th grade, they would have to be a math or an English teacher to be able to do that.
and just one last thing, and then the budget-wise, there's no problem with budget. Are we paying for this, or is this federal?
We're paying for this.
Yeah, we would pay for it. I mean, we have plenty of even grants that we could allocate to it. Money won't be the issue. I think I really just don't know what kind of a commitment level we would get from parents for their students to come. I know what's that?
Yeah, no, I'm agreeing with
No,
you.
that's tough, because, I mean, this has been just a long year on even parents, and I think there's a sentiment that we want to just kind of give the kids the summer off and then have them come back in the fall. That's an issue. I do think, staffing could potentially, be an issue, because we've got to have the right people to match up to it. But when Linda and her group pulled the data, I think the thought process was kind of start with the lowest 10%, and then if we have room, then go up from there to the lowest 20%, so that there would be a criteria. To your point on the special ed students, anyone who's eligible for ESY could go. If they were in the group or the category that got invited to this program, they certainly could elect to. But just because they happen to be a special ed student, if they were higher scoring, they might not meet that threshold to
Right,
originally
right.
come in. So I don't know how high up we would get,
Gotcha.
but we would work on that.
Okay.
And then I know middle school and high school is separate, though, upper middle,
Say
for
again?
credit recovery.
Oh, yes, so 7th and 8th grade students that need credit recovery would go through that process, as well as high school students. So they'd be going to summer school as they know it. That means that they did not perform appropriately to pass their ELA or their maths or one of their other subject areas. So we do a credit recovery program every year, no matter what, through Edgenuity. Those students are required to go to in order to go to the next grade level.
Do we have any idea on numbers for that in this year versus last year?
They said it was up a little bit, but it wasn't that significant. I was pleased to see that. So we don't have as many students. I was concerned that we might have just a high percentage of students needing summer school, but the uptick wasn't as high as, that much higher than last year's, so that was helpful.
And just, maybe I didn't understand something. K through 6 would be additional type of learning to, supplement whatever they have so far, but it's not recovering anything. It's K through
It
6.
would actually be K through 8 if we can get the right
Okay.
staff for additional learning, just more of that boost. But if you are a 7 through 12 student and you did not pass your courses, you need to go to a separate credit recovery program that is very, targeted towards making sure that those students have the exact skills in order to pass their ELA in mathematics.
Okay.
It's two separate programs, so this one would be more of like providing students with more literacy, mathematics, fluency, based on, you know, where they are, but it wouldn't be, if they didn't go to this, or there would be no grading, there's no, you know, extra homework, all of that stuff that a summer school student would have to go through in order to pass their course.
More
But
of
it
an
includes
intervention.
them.
It's more of an intervention type program. Where the other program Linda was talking about is your traditional summer school that kids would go to if they
Right.
failed the course.
Okay.
You envision the elementary school one being centralized, like at one particular school, like I know special ed usually does center school, right? Because they have air conditioning and all that.
Yeah, and I don't want to start a rift between the schools of who's going where, but, no, we would probably keep them all, like, probably use the modulars, right? Because that's, we need an air-conditioned space.
Right.
High school sometimes gets a little too big, especially for little kids, there wouldn't be really any appropriate even facilities for them. And middle school, we would hope to use one of the two middle schools, so just keep them centrally located, because again, this would be incumbent on pretty much the math coordinator, ELA, literacy, and myself to be monitoring the program. So we'd need them in a centralized program to be,
Right, that's
area to
what-
be able to get, we don't go all the way out to buy them, no, I can.
Right, no, I'm not saying,
yeah,
it's not gonna
we
be
keep-
a, you know, a local school type of thing.
Yeah,
It's
we
gonna
would
be-
keep them in our
Right,
schools.
Right.
Absolutely, and probably closer to the high school and central office, only because that's where we're
That's what I was
located.
Yeah, we just haven't really talked to the schools yet about that, so. No, but it would, where it's a modular too, it's
Yeah.
like just a finite
Right.
space for us to use, and it is air conditioned. So that's what we're looking at.
Right, any other questions on summer programs? Great, thank you.
All right, item 8 this evening is Joanna had produced a memo to approve annually, we do this, non-affiliated staff salary increases. So there's a list of all of the staff in the district who are not part of a collective bargaining agreement. So these are all what we consider non-affiliated staff. And so this vote would basically grant them a 2% cost of living increase as of July 1st, which is consistent with what the employees in the contracts received. So if you have any questions, we're happy to answer them for you. But we'd be looking for a motion to approve the 2% COLA for all of our non-affiliated staff, consistent with our contractual employees.
Right, John,
I make a motion to approve the FY 2022 non-affiliated staff salary increases as presented.
Second.
hey, any questions, comments? Oh, okay, all right, Donna?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Maria?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0.
Great. Next item, this evening, we do not have any budget transfers for you to consider. You will at the next meeting, but there's no action on that this evening. Next item on the agenda, Linda put together a list of all the different retirement celebrations that the individual schools are going to be having this spring. If you recall, I think we mentioned at the last school committee meeting, just because of numbers and we didn't know exactly what was going to be happening with distancing guidelines and things like that from the state, we're going to forego the teacher retirement banquet for right now. Each individual school is going to honor their own retirees with their own end-of-the-year activities. And then in the fall, we're looking at October 1st, working with the union to do a kind of cumulative event for anyone who retired last year, as well as this year, because they didn't have a retirement party last year, to have a celebration for all of our retirees in the fall. And the hope was really to be able to kind of get back in person and to be able to invite people to do that. Similar to the one we would do with the Radisson.
Right.
We invite the families, but they're looking at actually possibly Lindsay's in the fall, and maybe even using the outdoor tent, depending on the weather. But that is the plan for right now.
Do we have a cumulative list of people by schools who are retiring?
Mm-hmm.
We do have that, okay.
Yeah, I don't have it with me right now. I can
No,
email.
no, I was just,
Yeah.
End of the year, I think. You do an update pretty regularly anyway, right?
Yeah, they're in, I mean, technically you have to look at the different end of the year reports because some of them will be different months. It'll say when they're retiring. But we have just a spreadsheet. I can certainly just share it with you so that you know who's retiring from which school.
Yes, that would be great.
that'd be good, thank you.
What are the numbers around?
I want to say the teaching staff is, Joanna, do you know, like 12 to 14?
A little higher,
Did it go up?
yeah, like closer to
Prices,
like
right?
16, and the support staff's getting up to be like maybe 9.
Okay.
But that's sort of in line with the usual, right? It's usually around 20.
Yeah, yeah.
Ish.
We've seen
Yeah, 20 to
higher.
30,
Yeah.
yeah.
14,
Yeah.
just from the high school.
Yeah, okay, so that's.
Yeah,
fine.
The year I
I,
retired, there were
the
14
is
just from
huge.
the high school.
I didn't know if this whole situation caused more people to decide.
no, I mean, there was a lot of, kind of speculation about that. We haven't seen it.
That's good.
No, the numbers are actually low comparatively speaking. But I'll send that, let me just get everyone finalized,
Right.
and I'll send that list to you just so you can kind of see who by school
Thank you.
is getting that. Next item, as you know, we're a partner with Valley Collaborative. That's our special education collaborative. And they send over to us their newsletter twice a year. They send us their fall and their spring newsletter. So I'd just like to share that with you because we do have a lot of students, or a number of students in the district who are in our out-of-district placements, who do utilize Valley Collaborative in some of their programming. So just wanted to share their newsletter with you.
That's a nice little piece on Jack Saber.
Yeah, where did I see that
He
one?
did it
Is
last
he on the
page.
last page?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a good one.
Transition to the adult
Yeah.
program. Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, no, they do a good job, and
Yeah,
they
they
really,
do.
they spotlight a lot of the kids. And I know, what's been difficult for them too is even when we normally have our board meetings, they would have different students come in to be recognized and receive awards, and we haven't been able to do that in-person piece. I think we're trying to do an in-person board meeting at the end of June. I don't know how many of the students will be able to see, but I'm really, again, hoping for the fall, we're back at it in person.
What is this odd thing coming up next?
What's that?
This next item.
I know you haven't heard
I
about
haven't
this
seen-
in years.
I haven't seen this item for months.
Yeah, this one has
You
been
call
off.
field trips.
Off the school committee agenda for quite some time, but we're trying to get back to a little bit of normalcy. So you have some field trips to consider and approve. As you recall, because we honestly haven't done this in a while, field trips that involve anything out of state, even if they're day trips, out of state, or travel that's overnight for our students, require school committee approval. So our community education program has been planning their summer fest and quest and the different programs that they have. And they have 4 different events over the course of the fall where these are just day trips, but the day trips, where we're so close to New Hampshire, oftentimes they go over. So twice they have groups that are looking to go to Canopy Lake. They have a group looking to go to Mel's Funway Park in Litchfield, and then another trip to Sky Venture in Nashua. So those trips, again, no overnights, but it's just the fact that the day trip is going to New Hampshire. Looking for approval on those, as well as 2 new trips from the World Language Department. In February vacation of this coming year, group open to any junior and senior at the high school, going to San Juan, Puerto Rico on a community service trip. And then a second trip open to juniors and seniors at the high school who are enrolled in the Spanish program. This is part of that Spanish exchange, going to Malaga, Spain, over spring of this is spring of 2023. So this is not next year, it's the year after. We would be hosting the Spanish students in the fall, next fall of 22?
21.
21?
No, 22.
I'm sorry.
22. So they would come to us in the fall of
then they would
22,
go in
and then we would go see them in the spring of 23. But there is a lot of planning that's involved in these trips, so they're looking to get those approved so that they can begin their work. And then we did have 3 trips that have been bounced a couple of different times. They had been previously approved, but they've now been rescheduled.
Costa Rica.
Costa Rica in spring, this coming spring of 22. Peru in April of 22. And then a world language a fine arts field trip to Greece over April vacation of 2022. So a couple of these, once, again, had been previously approved, they're still working to kind of finalize the dates with the travel companies and whatnot. But just wanted to bring these back before you, to kind of Dennis's point, to show that we are going to start doing our, traveling again. I know the high schools are very excited about being able to do that exchange with the Spanish students. So that should be interesting. And again, these are just before you tonight for approval.
Did we ever resolve all the fee thing from the old?
No, actually, that came up today. As I was having a conversation with Andy about outstanding legal issues, that was one. We still have not received a satisfactory response from the transportation company that's holding back the student deposits for that trip. It was a French trip up to, I believe, Quebec.
So it's none of these, though?
Oh, no, it's none of these. No, that was a bus trip. That was, I believe it was high school related, but it was a bus trip. So we are gonna have a follow-up call on Thursday about that trip. And I'll bring you an update for the next school committee meeting.
Can we approve all of these in one group?
You can, yes. And I'll just, for the viewing audience, the community ed trips, the day trips, we just actually book them through our own transportation provider. There's not a lot of, risk in those. And the students pay the fee to be part of the camp, so the camp fee is basically paying for those trips. The other trips, we're using either Explorica or EF Tours. Two very reputable companies. Even a lot of the students on these tours had vouchers from previous tours that were canceled, so they'll be applying their voucher for this tour because we've had to bump them a couple of times. But even, of the groups that had taken some student money and different districts were having difficulty with, these two groups really did kind of step up, and they tried to work as best they could with parents to, again, either do refunds or give vouchers. So they are reputable companies that we're working with on those international trips. I did ask Andy, the attorney, to just take a look at the different consent forms that we sign and the permission forms, and he's added some language to those to just make it very clear that if our students go on these trips, they're really assuming the liability, in the event something has changed or canceled or postponed. It's all student money. It goes directly from the students to the companies, and we're kind of a middle person because, it's our staff that are going on a lot of these trips. But we've updated all our different forms, like a lot of other school districts, to be more ready for pandemic-related things in the future. But I'm hoping by this point in time next year, when we'll be traveling, we'd be in a good position to be able to do so.
Good. I joyfully make a motion to approve the conference and field trip requests for the upcoming school year. Joyfully second.
Joyfully second.
Thank
You
you.
have some for 2023 too.
What's that?
You have some for 2023 in here.
Oh. I make a motion to approve conference and field trip requests for 2022 and 2023. Never take that one.
Yeah, that's
Seconding
presented.
it? Okay.
I'm still joyful, though.
All right, any other questions on the field trips? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
5-0 on the field trips.
That felt great. I've been waiting for that that agenda item for a long time.
All right, anybody have any liaison reports?
Let's see.
Go ahead.
Just trying to remember which ones met. Tomorrow is Harrington, so I have not had PTO meetings.
All right, anybody else have any? I had council schools met, and they had the presentation of the scholarship award winners. It's a nice little thing where the scholarship goes to students who write an essay about one of their teachers that made a difference, and they read their essays, and the teachers present all over Zoom this year, but it's really nice to hear what they have to say about these different staff members. They announced a new photo vendor. They elected new officers, which were the old officers. And again, asking for people if they are interested in participating to reach out. And then we got reports from the individual PTOs, and there's still a lot of activity going on, Richmond activities, teacher appreciation events, end of the year happenings, et cetera. So they're still pretty busy with another month to go. All right, and then Center School PTO is meeting tomorrow night. All right, anybody have any new items?
I have a, hang on one second. Yes, so I was wondering if we could talk about, in maybe some of our upcoming meetings, the subject of proclamations. So we did the proclamation for June, and I just want to make sure that, that we're offering that opportunity for other groups. And, I think that as a school committee and a school district that we want to be welcoming and, provide a culture that is inclusive. And so, just to make sure, as I said, as we're going forward, that, if there's other proclamations that we can do that will help foster that, idea or concept, in the public, that this is what we're about as a school district, that we do that.
Anybody else? I know we meet again on the 15th, but also the 17th is town meeting, and I believe that will be the night that we'll present.
So Thursday, the 17th is town meeting. It was originally going to be at the high school, but then they have relocated it back to the senior center. So Thursday, the 17th, we will have town meeting, but it'll be at the senior center.
We'll probably, but our budget will probably be the first night, I would assume.
Yeah, when I did talk to Paul last, he was expecting a multiple night
Right.
event. But our budget's usually done on the first night, so
Yep.
I think they'll do the town budget, the capital budget and whatnot, all that first night.
I think it's
That's
7:30,
7 o'clock.
7:40, technically 7:45 start, right, because they have to.
Yeah, it was supposed to
convene.
be 7:30, but I know Mr. Curlin needs to go and technically go to the high school and I believe kind of recess and move the meeting to the senior center. So we're not going to be starting until 7:45. But we can be there in advance and kind of get ready.
But we have
know
budget
it's-
books and all that ready to go.
We're working on it. Yeah, we'll be ready in time.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, any other new items?
Will those be ready for the pre-town meeting? Are we doing a pre-town meeting?
I don't know, I don't know if they're gonna do
I
pre.
got my letter and I forgot to.
Yeah, I didn't see anything on pre.
There's usually a pre-town meeting
Oh,
and
I
I
know,
don't
did
know.
it say that they were gonna?
I didn't
Don't
see
know
anything
anything.
on it
Yeah, I
yet.
think I did
Okay.
that, so I'll go home and read it, but, yeah.
Just when we can, to again have some kind of report on social emotional learning and the guidance department and so on, and what our plan is going forward. And as we transition into next year, if something in the next couple of months, I think would be important
sure.
before school starts.
All right, anything else? Anybody receive any public comment they would like to share?
No.
I didn't.
Did not.
Quiet.
No. Donna, if you do find out there's a pre-town meeting though, if you just let me know.
I'm looking right now.
We very easily could be there.
Sometimes too, they offer the reports available in the town manager's office ahead of time for people who want to pick them up and look at them prior to town meetings, so.
Okay.
But I'm looking right now to see if there's anything here.
I received the letter, the town rep letter.
Yeah,
I didn't have
yesterday.
anything in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, we'll figure that one out.
Okay.
All right, take a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Jeff joyfully seconds. Okay, all in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, 5-0.
Do you think you could print
Thank
that
you.
proclamation?